Chapter 16. The City of Light. The journey along the Golden River had continued for 2 days, without Dave, Ann, or Kiro encountering any sign of danger. Instead, each step revealed new forms of life, new colors, and sounds that seemed to have been invented by an artistic mind, not by the randomness of nature. The tall beings guided them patiently, maintaining a speed adapted to humans. A sunset on the 3rd day, the sky lit up in shades of topaz, and on the horizon began to appear what seemed, at first, to be a collection of luminous mountains. As they drew closer, Dave realized that these were not mountains, they were a city. There was no straight line in the constructions before them. Each building, if it could be called that, seemed to have grown organically from the earth, shaped by wind, water, and light, like a giant coral. The walls were translucent, with luminous veins that pulsed slowly, as if they were breathing, and stopped, fascinated. They didn't build the city, they cultivated it. Kiro, analyzing the structure, had sent the data to Dave's tablet. The composition of the walls was a mixture of mineral matter and living, symbiotic tissue, capable of repairing itself. Basically, the city was a giant being, made up of thousands of interconnected organisms. At the entrance, there was no barrier in the classical sense. Instead, 2 columns of living crystal slowly parted, creating a corridor through which the group walked. When they passed, the columns closed back in place, like 2 leaves touching. From within came a warm, diffused light that seemed to emanate from every surface. The air was denser, full of suspended luminous particles, like fireflies that never go out. The sounds were delicate, almost musical, vibrations produced by the flow of energy through the city's structure. Dave and Ann discovered that they were not walking along the streets in the usual sense. Beneath their feet were slightly elastic surfaces that moved slowly in the direction of the. It was as if the floor itself knew where visitors should go. On the edges, the buildings had sinuous shapes, and inside they could see the silhouettes of the inhabitants. Some stood in circular rooms, others seemed to float in rooms filled with transparent liquid. And observed. The city is not just for living in it. It is a part of their lives. It provides them with energy, protection, and maybe even thoughts. The leader of the group of beings led them into a vast square, where the ground was covered in a living mosaic, which changed colors depending on the steps of those who crossed it. In the middle rose a tall structure, like a huge tree made of liquid crystal. From its trunk, streams of light flowed in all directions, powering the city. Kiro detected a huge energy field coming from this point. The data indicated that the city was fed by a combination of sunlight, or, in this case, triple solar and geothermal energy directed through the roots of this tree. The beings lightly touched their foreheads to its surface, and for a few moments, the luminous filaments in their bodies changed their rhythm. And Dave understood, it was a form of connection to the city network. Without asking for verbal permission, because there was no such code here, and approached the tree and pressed her palms to its surface. A gentle warmth penetrated her body, followed by a wave of images. Flights of translucent creatures over rivers of gold, natural bridges of gigantic crystals, nights under a purple sky full of suns. But there was something else, a clear memory of a world covered in ice, and of a lighted passage, similar to the tunnel they had come through. When Ann broke away, she was breathing quickly. Dave, I think this city knows about our world. As they advanced, more and more inhabitants appeared. There were no identical faces, but they all shared the same inner light, the same slow-breathing rhythm. Some approached and touched Dave and Ann's hands, sending them brief visual impressions. Memories of places in this world, faces of other visitors, probably from distant times. Dave was amazed when he received the image of a man, dressed in the clothes of an explorer from the early 20th century. It was impossible, and yet clear. They were not the first people to set foot here. The beings were not taking them to a proper school, but were exposing them directly to experiences. And a vast hall, the walls presented vivid 3-dimensional scenes that moved slowly around them. They were lessons in history and science simultaneously, but not through words or writing, but through pure sensations and images. And felt an entire energetic map of this world being imprinted on her mind. Dave perceived data. Streams as waves of colors and sound vibrations. Kiro, connected to the same network by touching a guiding being, recorded everything. When the 3 suns began to descend, the entire city entered a kind of natural concert. The walls of the buildings emitted fine, perfectly harmonized musical notes, and the luminous particles in the air danced synchronously with the vibrations, and was moved to tears. Dave. It's as if the city were singing about its own life. Dave, with a lump in his throat. And we are part of this song now. The beings offered them a resting space, a round room, with walls that kept their body temperature, emitting a gentle light. The floor was covered with a soft, living substance that adapted to the shape of their bodies. Kiro stood at the entrance, connected to the city network, but without entering standby mode. There was no threat here. Before falling asleep, and remembered the image of the explorer from the being's memories and whispered, Dave, maybe we didn't come here to be the first. Maybe we came to be the ones who understand. He looked at her and answered slowly, and perhaps to bring back what was needed. The warm light of the city enveloped their faces, and outside, between the 3 overlapping sunsets, the organic metropolis pulsed slowly, like a giant heart that beat for all its inhabitants, both now and for the 2 people who had come from beyond the ice.